Damn, if only this thing hadn't happened, then I could be guilt-free. I could be anxiety-free. I could be free from all my panic and all my suffering. OCD wouldn't even be a thing. That is complete crap. That is how it will make it feel, because you are so consumed and so focused on working this thing out in order to get relief. But that is the illusion. That's how OCD is pulling you in. Because if even this thing didn't happen, OCD would have found something else. It would have snuck in through the back door and found something else. It would have gone, oh, what about this thing? What if this didn't happen? Because you notice that. So let's say, for example, when you confess, right? When you confess something of OCD and that constant non-stop confession, getting things off your chest, the venting, all that happens is that it switches up that event that you confessed about, or it just finds something else, right? Or it just hits you with a different thought. It hits you with a different intrusive image. It hits you with a different intrusive name. It hits you with a different intrusive urge. It finds something else, okay? It's going to find a real event. It's going to find a false memory. Let's say you're stuck on something that happened when you were 15, right? Now you confess that, you get all off your chest, you think, right, I'm at peace now. I'm at relief. 10 minutes later, oh shit, I didn't explain it correctly. Oh fuck, I confessed all of that, now I didn't explain it correctly, and now it's even worse. And oh my god, what do they think of me? Oh my god, hang on, this actually happened. Oh wait, I wasn't actually 15, was I 16? Oh wait, that happened. But if it doesn't do that, then it just goes, yeah, what about this event when you were drunk when you were 21? What about that event? So it's never ending, you're in a never ending cycle. Now, I don't even talk about gratitude in regards to confession, but let me explain what I mean here. So imagine having OCD and not knowing what it was. Let's go back to 50 years ago. Let's go further than that. Let's go 100 years ago. Okay? Imagine you're stuck with real event false memory, chronic guilt, chronic shame. You're going over something in the past over and over and over again, right? Now imagine you spent your whole life just confessing, right? I don't know if you'd get very far. I don't know where you would end up, right? But imagine never knowing OCD and how it is operating, and you're going from one confession to the other, to the next, to the other, to the next. Hey, this one, that one, this one. People probably get so fed up with you. I know you might end up in jail. People might even beat you up. I don't know where you'd end up, right? But think how lucky you are to know that the confession is a huge compulsion with OCD. And you know that because every time you do confess, every time that you do vent, OCD's got you. It grips you back in. Because then what it used to do with me, it would be, well, it would pull me into confessing. So I'd fall down the trap of confessing. And then what I would then do, it would then sort of turn the table and go, oh, hang on a minute. Now they think you're a bad person. So why did you confess? I was like, you fucker. You pulled me into confessing. You tricked me into it. And now I've confessed everything. Got every intrusive thought off my chest. Got this thing from 10 years ago off my chest. And now I'm obsessed that they think I'm a bad person. And now you're like, you stupid idiot. Why did you confess? You'll never recover. And like, you fucker. And that's what it does. OCD does that. It leaves you in a situation where you can't win. You're in a lose-lose situation regardless. Okay? That is why we advise very passionately, because we've all been there ourselves, that each time that you give in to that compulsion, whether that's confessing, whether that's seeking reassurance, whether that's venting, whether that's complaining, whether that's Googling, whether that's that checking, the physical checking, the internal checking, each time you do that, you're giving the keys. I wish I had a set of keys in my hands. You're giving the keys to OCD and go, there you go. You control my life. Do what you want with it. That's what you're doing, because you're giving it power. You're letting OCD call all the shots to your life. Now, when you are so set on just working this one thing out, I'll tell you what you're missing out on. You're missing out on the bigger picture, right? Let me explain. This was a huge shift for me. Once I realised that, what can I learn from this real event? Why is this cause so much guilt for me? Why is this cause so much chronic shame? Now, I didn't look at the lessons that it was teaching me, i.e. how I'm viewing it, which was fueling the guilt. I was too busy trying to work it out, trying to get some kind of certainty, trying to figure out what exactly happened on this day at this time 10 million years ago, or whatever it was. So What I was missing out on was the bigger picture, and that bigger picture was the lessons I could learn, the unconditional acceptance. So rather than, oh, if only this thing didn't happen, oh, for fuck's sake, this bloody thing, it's done me now, bloody hell, I'm done, over, waste of time, life's over. Instead of realizing that, hang on a minute, this is teaching me something, because the reason it's latched to that, the reason I feel incredibly guilty over this thing is because I've triggered myself in, I've made myself guilty from how I'm viewing it. Because I'm saying I cannot accept myself as as a human being who may have done this thing in the past. I have conditional acceptance. I'm only accepting myself if I haven't done this thing, not if I have. Now, none of that is saying that you want to then do something bad. It's not then saying, oh, if you've done something bad, don't worry about it. It's all excused. Don't worry, it's all justified, done nothing wrong. Don't worry, do bad things, do immoral things, get on with it. No, it's not agreement. Okay, unconditional acceptance is not agreement. You can be somebody who's committed a wrong act. You can be somebody who's committed an evil act, a moral act, a legal act, right? If you have done that, let's say you're sat in jail and you've committed an immoral crime, you've committed a bad thing, horrendous act, right? Now, you can still apply unconditional acceptance, right? Because the chronic guilt is fueled by how you view it yourself. Now, OCD is on steroids, right? It could just be one tiny little thing and it's like, right, that's it. You're sentenced to a lifetime of guilt, right? Even just a thought about doing something wrong. Boom, guilt. That's it. Even an intrusive thought. Let's say I had an intrusive thought at an unwanted time. I used to have lots of intrusive thoughts during intimacy. I had lots of intrusive thoughts just sort of in the build up of like big events like vacations or like holiday, same thing, or like a big job interview before like I signed up for a new job and I really want to get this job, it would get in on that. Let's say I had a big social event coming up, let's say I had a big family event, a football event, music concert, basically anything that I wanted to enjoy, anything I wanted to really feel connected and invested in and involved by, that's when the intrusive thoughts would ramp up. Now, even just that, oh my God, you thought that of that person, you thought of this thing, oh my God, you had this intrusive thought about that, oh my God, that's terrible. You are sentenced to a lifetime of guilt for the rest of your life. Now, I was so down that rabbit hole, like, oh, if only this thing didn't happen, fuck, if only I didn't have that thought, fuck, if only I just didn't avoid this, fuck, if only if I didn't go on holiday, then I wouldn't be triggered. That's crap. That's crap. That leads to avoidance. That leads to compulsive avoidance. That will not work. Okay, I avoided intimacy for ages, for example. I avoided booking holidays for this exact reason because I was so scared of the thoughts that would happen in the build-up. I used to avoid just doing things that would trigger me. I used to say, for example, I'm walking down the street. Let's say I'm just walking because I had intrusive urges. I then avoid just walking down the street out of the fear of an urge. Right? I'd avoid going to sport because I loved going to sport because I was scared of the thoughts in the build up towards the sporting event, right? So my life was getting smaller and smaller. But what I was doing it all wrong because I was focusing on, oh, if only this thing didn't happen, how can I stop this thing happening? How can I prevent myself getting triggered? That is the wrong approach, I'm afraid. Okay? A much healthier and more efficient approach towards overcoming OCD is taking a step back, looking at why it triggered you, how you triggered yourself, how you've made yourself feel guilty by how you're viewing it. What's your perception of this thing? How are you viewing yourself? How are you rating yourself? How are you writing yourself off? How are you catastrophizing this? Where's your demands? Are you saying you're undeserving? Are you saying life's completely over if you've done this thing? Because that is what has bothered you. That is what's triggered you. Okay? Now, accountability is key, right? Being self-accountable on the OCD recovery journey is absolutely vital. I just got off the phone with somebody yesterday. I'm pretty sure they're going to be watching this video. They know who they are. And the majority of the call was us talking about how we need to be more accountable for our journey. Otherwise, it becomes just victimizing. Why me? Why me? Oh, this thing triggered me. Oh, that thing triggered me. Oh, this thing triggered me. I'm triggered. Hang on. Let's be accountable here. Let's think how you triggered yourself by how you're viewing it. Right? Because then you put the key to your mental health in your hands, which is what I love. Because when somebody's accountable for their mental health, they hold the key. They hold the shots. They call the shots, right? Because they realize it's down to them and how they view it. Okay? Rather than from swaying left to right based on external events, rather than saying, well, you made me angry, you triggered me, that thought triggered me, my thoughts, that thought's triggered me. Oh, this thing in the past, fuck, this thing 10 years ago, that it fucking happened, I could be at peace. That is complete nonsense. Okay, because it would have found something else. The thing that's bothering you right now, it's how you are viewing that thing in the past. Your perception of yourself due to that thing in the past. Okay, how you are writing yourself off because of this thing in the past. How you are rating yourself and labeling yourself because of this intrusive thought. Okay, that is crucial. I want you to think about triggers as a great chance to be self-accountable. I'm not saying like it's your fault for being triggered, but when you really get stoic and when you really get on this journey, what you realise is that, well, I've triggered myself. Now, when you first come in and you're triggered left, right, and centre, I get it, okay? I understand it's hard to be, oh, why has this happened? Why me? Why me? And then you avoid because you don't like the triggered feeling. I know that. But what we talk about a lot is go towards triggers, okay? Because they're a learning curve. They're teaching you something. They're showing you what you need to break down. They're hitting you in the face. Look, you obviously can't accept this. You need to break this down. Okay, you need to go towards the worst case scenario. You need to look at the pros and cons of that worst case scenario happening. Let's really imagine your worst case scenario. Okay, what would the pros and cons be? What could you still be grateful for? How could you transform or benefit your life from this undesired outcome, whatever it may be? Okay, none of this is agreeing. None of this is wanting the worst case scenario. None of this is, let's say, is relevant false memory. You've done a bad thing. It's not just saying, you know what, I don't give a shit about this bad thing. I don't give a fuck about this. That's not true, because you can condemn the action, you can regret the action. Yes, that's a healthy reaction because you don't want to do bad things. Of course you don't. Okay, you don't want to do that. The healthy desire, the healthy preference is to not act immorally. But even if you have, but OCD will find a way to prove that you have anyway. Okay, it'll just say, when you had that thought, you're an immoral person, that's immoral, that's illegal, you had this thought, you're terrible. So it doesn't even matter if you've done anything in the past or not, because it would still convince you with the chronic guilt and the chronic shame pumping away that you're the worst person on the planet. To really think about the worst case scenario. What good outcome's going to get from this? Now that question feels like you're scraping the barrel, because it's your worst case scenario, so you wouldn't be thinking of the good outcomes. But think of a pro, think of what you would have ever have done because of this worst case scenario happening. So let's say, for example, a worst case scenario for many people is being stuck with OCD. It was a big one for me with fear of fear. The worst case was, if I'm stuck with OCD, that would just be terrible. So I had to really imagine I was stuck with OCD for the rest of my life. What good outcomes can I get from this? Okay, now, not many at all. Not many at all. But actually, I suddenly thought, hang on, there are lots. Let's think about one here. Now, I wouldn't be in here with this OCD shirt on, talking to you, giving you advice, working on this amazing team that we have here, OCD Recovery, spreading awareness for OCD, on the mission to bring OCD out of the dark, raising awareness, getting people through towards recovery. I'd have never have had that if I didn't suffer from OCD. I'd have never met some amazing people that I've met through OCD. I'd have never have learned all the lessons that I got from OCD suffering, the rational thinking, the unconditional acceptance. I'd have never read this amazing book, which I absolutely love, The Myth of Self-Esteem. I'd have never applied gratitude as much as I do now. I'd have never got invested in a hobby, in an interest, some kind of, absorbed by some kind of challenge. I wouldn't have had that kind of mindset. Okay, so although the suffering was bad, it's taught me so much. And I've never viewed life the way I do now, with the deeper philosophy that I have through OCD, or because of OCD. I'm thankful for that. So that's a good outcome from OCD. Even if I was stuck, I could use, well, yes, even if I am stuck, but what can I learn from being stuck? Right? Okay? Now, and how can you have compassion for yourself, even if the worst case was true? If you were stuck with OCD for the rest of your life, how could you have compassion for yourself? If you'd done this thing in the past and it was wrong and you were sat in jail, how can you have compassion for yourself? Right? If you were rejected, if you, for example, acted immorally, how could you still have compassion for yourself? Well, you could see that something's gone wrong, sort of that you made a mistake, and you can learn from that mistake, and you can see all the factors that led you to commit that act. Yes, none of this is agreeing with it, none of this is saying, yeah, it's fine. No, because you can helpfully acknowledge that you made a mistake and see the factors which led to that. Maybe you were angry. Maybe that day you were told some bad news. Maybe you just lost control. Maybe there's some sort of genetic factor which led you to perform such a thing. So compassion comes from understanding. It comes from acceptance. It comes from empathy, right? Rather than just seeing it as black and white, as you're bad, you're evil, you've done this thing in the past, your life's written off. Because when you start applying compassion to somebody else, let's look at somebody who's living your worst case scenario. Think, well, how can I apply compassion to them? Look at all the factors which led them to do such a thing. Look at all the factors that led them to act in this way, in this bad way, or just to, I don't know, all the things that just kept them stuck. Okay, what led them that? All the different factors, all the different challenges involved. Okay, now it's important to think about this, because otherwise you're just so fixated on working this thing out for certainty. I just need certainty on this and I can be at peace. That is a trap leading to nowhere. OCD will pull you in to convince you that you are past the point of no return. And you just need to work this out, and you need to and then you'll get relief. If you just work this one thing out, you'll be anxiety free. That is a trap that I was down for many, many years, and many others are down and still are down now, because they're still trying to work things out rather than looking to change their perspective on what this thing is. Why does this scare them so much? Okay, because that is how true mental health and true mental freedom and overcoming this guilt, overcoming the shame, that's how it will happen. You trying to work it out will not work. Okay, I've spent years doing that. Okay, if you're interested in one-to-one calls, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. My name's Sam. You've got Rob, Nick, Moment and Gemma doing one-to-one calls, so email Phil to get in touch. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like, and we'll speak again. Bye-bye.